So next up, we have Kevin Williams. He's the founding chairman of KWP. It's a consultancy that deals with high-tech entertainment. He's a former Walt Disney Imagineer.
I don't mind that. And a noisy person as well. Sorry. Well, I'd like to thank the AWE organizers for allowing me to come and present to you today, and I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to fall asleep in my company. I appreciate that. I'm really the wild card here. When talking about entertainment in augmented reality, most people think about the consumer application and the utilization of this technology as a means to an end for mobile phones or for tablets. I actually work in an industry which specializes in the out-of-home sector. This is the theme park industry, this is the gaming industry, this is the amusement industry. And I'm going to try and give you a little rundown of what the sector really is, some keynote examples of applications that have been dropped in over the last couple of years, not too much, and then a look at the technology and to show you the differences in the technology that we're using when we don't have to worry about the restraints of a consumer system. So as was said, you can see that I stopped shaving some time ago. I come from a background both in the development of technology for out-of-home entertainment, arcade, theme parks, as well as having to sell that technology and also evaluate that technology. And really, the hat that I'm wearing today is not KWP, the consultancy I run. The actual hat that I'm wearing today is related to the Digital Out-of-Home Interactive Network Association, the DNA. And this association was started about 2 years ago to focus wholly on the application of immersive entertainment in the out-of-home sector. Sorry about the quality of the slide. I'll go with the colors. This Venn diagram gives you an example of the sectors that we're playing in. The green amorphous blob is the arcade industry, what we call the amusement industry. The purple is the theme park industry. The orange is the retail and the hospitality sector, and the yellow slice in between those two is the exergaming and the edutainment sector. The two large grey blobs above those are the consumer game sector and the digital gaming sector, the gambling sectors. We don't deal with those, but as you can see, they have an influence on how all of these metaverses work together. And it's important to understand that this is undiscovered country because the consumer sector gets all of the publicity, the digital gaming side gets all of the publicity, but we don't know or we don't hear that much about the application where people actually put money into machines. And this is an industry that deals in social inclusion. When you leave the front door and start having a really good time using digital technology, that is our industry. That is the industry that we particularly deal with. And this is an industry that is talking to a very sophisticated audience, as we've heard from Scott's excellent presentation. The sector here is sophisticated. They understand game metrics. They're prepared to use social media. They have total understanding of interactivity, and they expect that level of interactivity when they go out of their front door and when they go into facilities. If you're going to offer them an entertainment experience and it isn't interactive beyond the quality of what they can expect off of their PlayStation, off of their Apple, off of their tablet, then you're going to be undermined, and they're going to find their entertainment somewhere else. So one of the first examples that we saw in the out-of-home entertainment sector of augmented reality was in 2006. There had been a number of test examples in museums and in smaller parks, but this was the first time that a major theme park operation put a large amount of cash behind the development of an augmented reality immersive attraction. And it's a clever one. It is really a treasure hunt around the park, but rather than leaving physical clues, a special mobile device was handed to the players taking part, based around the Kim Possible brand that Disney retains. And when you ventured to certain areas around the theme park and utilized your location-based PDA, or in this case, a mobile phone device, handset, it actually activated a mini game. It actually collected information or points that went to a centralized database, and the individual at the end of the experience received a score that was also linked to an online campaign. This is a great way to utilize space within a facility. This is a great way to create something that works beyond just the conventional theme park attractions that were located in the park. And it was also a perfect branding exercise, a cheap way of jumping in and applying themselves towards the application of interactivity, an empowered audience, and a fun concept. We've been using in theme parks the systems that allow tracking. Near-field communication is very important to us now. We're tracking the movement of the individual through the parks. In the retail sector, away from the theme park sector, we're seeing the application now of augmented reality, as we saw excellently with Scott's demonstrations, the use of 3D barcodes, the use of augmented displays to show what box advertising is. These are now being linked to games. From the museum sector, we've tried to drop these products into the museum sector, what is called edutainment. Already mobile phones are beginning to be used as audio guides. There is an issue to understand when you're trying to use these kinds of tools as edutainment. Here's an example of images from a museum being superimposed on top of the actual physical processes, so taking the person outside of the museum and actually having them wander around the capital city, in this case London. But we have the issues. We have to consider that our technology has to be utilized specially. We're beginning to see now the banning of personalized augmented reality devices, of mobile phone camera picture taking inside certain galleries and visitor attractions because of the ownership issues, because of the marketing issues. And another reason is battery life. The last thing that some people want to do is have to hold up their mobile phone and you suck all the life out of their batteries purely to interact with the experience. So now we're dropping in specialized technology. This particular case, the skeleton of the dinosaur has the skin put back onto it and animated using a special tool. Augmented reality is not just the digital side from wearable or carryable. We're also putting in physical interaction inside certain venues that use 4D, 4D being physical effects that are married to the film experience. In the visitor attraction sector, we're now seeing augmented reality viewing screens. So rather than just looking through a telescope and dropping a coin in, now you have special night vision. And if you're in a facility like London where the weather can never be guaranteed, having a viewing gallery and it's just total mist all over the place is pretty bad. So here we use augmented reality to show you what you're not seeing. And then, of course, full facilities are being turned into total digital environments, removing all of the show set and creating everything within all the physicality being created by digital systems. So quickly going through the technology, tracking, we're seeing a lot of this now, enlivening the environment, allowing people to interact with the experiences and also being able to paint floors and walls with interactivity. Queue lines are now being interacted. People are having more fun standing in the queue line playing the games than actually going onto the ride. We're seeing transparent displays now being put over surfaces. In the retail sector, there is a lot of glass that can now be taken over by the utilization of this type of technology. The 3D projection mapping, or as we like to call digital architecture, is another fundamental part of the experience. We're trying to build an environment for people to enjoy themselves within, and to be able to control that and manipulate that in real time using projection is very important. Virtual puppeteering or VAC tours, the ability to have a digital character interact with the guests, is getting the person out of the Mickey Mouse suit and putting them up onto the screens or projecting them onto the surfaces. Virtual reality being used in audience environments, very important. Now people can see people having a nice time. VR is back, and remember, virtual reality was one of the things that we in the arcade industry took control of. We're now seeing people developing the replacement to the traditional arcade with VR arcades, where you go in like a tanning salon, you pay your money, you get a certain amount of time to play within a virtual environment using technology that is unachievable at home. This is stuff that you won't be able to build on your home system, but can afford to rent out in a venue. This is the same type of technology that's being used in the military and the training, but here, without having to use a head-mounted display, we're using projection technology now to immerse the individual in a virtual environment. Some of the concepts that are being developed now are pods. So rather than going into special rooms, you'll actually be going into special enclosures or simulated environments that can be timed, that can be controlled, that aren't just games, but are experiential. So really what I want you to take away from my brief presentation today is that we're working in a sector that achieves technology that is, by its nature, unachievable at home. We're using head-mounted displays and computer power that is just not economic from a consumer application. We're social. We don't just use social media to bring people to our facilities and keep them there. We're also creating a social environment where they can interact with themselves, much more compelling than just solitary gaming. And finally, we have the tournament and the prize element. Because we're dealing in a pay-for-play industry, we can give the audience access to the finances, to the money. We can bring them back for competitions. We can bring them back for that big cardboard check. Anyway, that's the hard sell over. Unlike Scott, I can't throw tons of prizes, but I can offer some virtual prizes out. Anybody that would like a copy of the book that's just come out that goes into more detail about that, I'm not walking all over there. The 25% cards, discount cards are here, QR codes. Scan them in. They'll take you to the site. They'll give you a discount. And really, thank you very much for your time. I hope that brief summary of the technology gave you an idea. And if there's any questions, I'll gladly take them now. Please.
So I actually came from the theme park industry, so I've seen most of what you're talking about, which is amazing to see this here. How would you solve the outdoor tracking problems with AR?
We're tracking a lot of guests that you've seen with the Magic Bands now. We've got quite good tracking, but it's not good enough for an interactive game experience. What they're talking about now is near field married to RFI. So your radio frequency system would track you normally, and then when you get closer to, so we say, a game experience, then it would swap over to a near field communication, and that would give you the pinpoint tracking. It's an issue. But at the moment, the games don't need the kind of HMD quality tracking at the moment. When we need high levels of tracking, we put the person in a special environment. That's the best way to look at it. Please, sir.
With vision-based tracking, where do you kind of draw a line with courtesy of the privacy of the customer, the visitor, the guest, and the interaction?
Well, that goes back to the museums and the visitor attractions that are now banning let's call them wearable augmented reality systems, and also the use of mobile phones expressively just to take pictures of the audience. We have the issue about privacy.
I mean, the exhibitor using cameras for vision, computer vision on the interaction, capturing the guest.
So the best example would be a photo booth capturing the images of the children as they're playing on the ride and then selling the image.
I mean, interaction by computer vision, like a Kinect or like a facial recognition, to be able to do interaction.
Well, we're using tracking systems a lot in the sectors. We don't have to worry too much about the privacy and issues because we don't take that much data. We don't retain the data. Everything's thrown away. Funny enough, with the magic wand, you actually have to, when you come back the next day, you actually have to scan your hand. But it's not a fingerprint scanner because that would break the rules of data inclusion. It's actually taking an image of the shape of your hand, which, of course, no one else needs to do, and that information is thrown away after the event. So we try and discard to save ourselves from worrying about protecting their information.
We have time for one more question.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. What's your take on the UX challenge of requiring your device to be up in the air to experience the AR overlay of the real world through the camera? We're experiencing this issue on Google's Project Tango.
So what you mean is the only way that this technology really works to its best is if you're far enough away from the experience.
And requiring someone to hold up their phone.
You're constantly having to hold it up, constantly.
Causing fatigue or whatnot.
Goes back to what we're doing now with technology, where we're not having the individual walking around. You know, the Kim Possible example taught us a lot of lessons about the vulnerability of these devices to being dropped, the vulnerability of these devices to being lost. We're trying now to take control of the metrics or the visuals that the individual is using in the theme park experience or in the retail experience. Those digital display screens that I was showing you earlier, you don't need to hold them up. They're there, they're mounted, they're kiosk systems. The overlays on glass surfaces are there. You don't have to hold them up. So we're trying to get away from the invasive, where you're walking around with a lump of plastic, and we're trying to give them the opportunity of seeing the augmented environment through another device. People don't like carrying this stuff around. People find it very, even though you see, I saw this great picture of the Pope recently as he's doing the walk around, and all these people holding up their tablets, taking photos of the Pope, where a couple of years ago it would have been the phones, and even before then it would have been proper cameras. We're going to have to work out a way for our industry to come up with a much better handhold device. If that means wearing special glasses that the facilities provide to the guests as they walk around the facility, I don't know.
But what about Oculus Rift or Google Glass?
All of those systems you don't have to worry about. Well, Google Glass is an augmented reality device, and it still hasn't proven that it's robust enough for application, not just physically robust, but also offering enough of an experience. The Oculus Rift is not robust. Not robust. You cough near it and it will shatter. We have a client that's using Oculus Rifts as a test system in a family entertainment environment. And for every one Oculus Rift that they have to hand the kids through, they've got a room full of about another 10 spares. Cleaning them, dropping them, really cleaning them after a 4-year-old kid's sticky little hands have been all over it. These things, the systems that we see at the moment, remember, the Oculus Rift is a prototype at the moment. We have not seen a productized version. And when we see a productized version, there'll still be a productized version for the consumer sector. We in the out-of-home entertainment need robust, strong, droppable, sticky finger-proofed systems.
But it's a VR system, right? It's not AR.
Well, the old joke, what's the difference between simulation and virtual reality? Virtually nothing. But you can. So, and I hope I'm not breaking any NDAs. The future of a lot of these VR headsets is to marry AR with VR. Surprise, surprise, it may be. Comments may change depending on Facebook share price. The issue is that there could be a camera on the front pointing out on the production version of the Oculus Rift. And that means AR, VR, schmear.
Thank you very much, Kevin.
Thank you.